Good day to you. God bless you. Welcome to the Doctor's Corner. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to again be able to visit with your children. We pray that what we may say or do here today will bring honor to you, Father. All these blessings we ask in the name of Christ Jesus, our Savior. Today, I'm going to see how good you've been listening to what has gone before. We've discussed most of the diseases that are easily preventable, and we're going to try to summarize them, and then perhaps we'll talk a little, just tidbits here and there, bits and pieces that I thought might interest you. And then I'm going to give you a pop quiz just to see how really intently you've been listening. I think you will enjoy that. It's going to be a tough quiz because we've covered a lot of stuff. But they're going to be all true-false questions, and I don't really think you're going to get bent out of shape by them. First of all, we'll give you a little brief summary of what we have covered in case you are turning in new and you want to take this exam. We have discussed a Christian's Guide to Better Health. And as we discussed that, we have talked about a number of things that we keep repeating, but we all learn from repetition. And I want to just hit the important points one more time today. You are indeed what you eat. And our health care really doesn't need any revamping. We don't need more health care. We need better health advice. And that's what I'm trying to give you. We stick to the truth. How do I know it's the truth? Is it because I'm so great? Of course not. Because it agrees with Father's Word. And He has allowed us, our researchers, to prove to us on occasions then that these things are true. It really just witnesses to Father's Word and gives credentials to His Word. Oh, researchers get puffed up and they think they have such great knowledge, but they just magnify on such a small, intricate thing that may not really be too important. I'm not poo-pooing it. We have learned tremendously. As a matter of fact, during the last 50 years, information has just accumulated at exponential rates. And information is still accumulating at very rapid rates. However, it isn't always good information. The unfortunate thing is that much of this information is really not much good. So frequently it's just rehashed opinions of men. It's nothing more than innuendo or someone raising a question about research that has been done diligently. And so it leaves our people confused. What they really need is the truth in simplicity. Well, what you said so far has been so simple, I can't hardly believe it would be true that it would prevent 80% of the diseases. Well, it really will. So, as we think in terms of prevention, it is an idea whose time has come. Our Bible is a book of prevention, Genesis to Revelation. It's time that we followed it and prevent these diseases. If you recall, I first talked about cholesterol, largely. And we have found in the laboratory that if we raise the blood total cholesterol 1%, the risk of coronary artery disease goes up 2%. Even recent research has been so outstanding that it has compellingly even induced the American Medical Association to say, well, yes, cholesterol is the cause of heart disease. Just until a very short time ago, we kept saying, well, we don't know the cause of heart disease. Our Father knew thousands of years ago when He created man. And He's been nice to share this information with us. Atherosclerosis That hardening of the arteries, as we say, are accumulation of plaques on the walls of the vessels, these plaques containing cholesterol that narrow the blood vessels. It's everyone's disease. Yes, in America, everyone gets hardening of the arteries as we live longer and longer. You might say, well, I've lived long enough now that it won't do any good, really. I shouldn't quit eating fat or a better lifestyle, exercising. It's too far along. We have found that at any age, when you change your lifestyle, it pays big dividends, the biggest dividends you will ever accumulate. As a matter of fact, we might say that the best insurance you will ever have in this flesh age is a no-fat diet, exercise, and no smoking. It assures you of good health. Start today. Make your own list of no-nos and good foods, encouraging yourself to predetermine that you're not going to eat those on the no-no side. Do it yourself, because I don't know what kind of foods you like. I want you to develop your own recipes. But in these recipes, take out at least half of the fat right to begin with. Finally, cut it to a fourth. Have it be a family affair in the decisions, but remember the cooks are the guardians of your health. So then, fat causes coronary artery disease, the cholesterol in fat. But if we eat fat with cholesterol, which only the animal products contain cholesterol, meat, eggs, cheese, butter, and milk, or if we eat the saturated fats, such as coconut oil, palm oil, and avocado, and so on, we stimulate the body to form more cholesterol. And this cholesterol is bad. As we exercise, the HDL, or good cholesterol, rises, and the LDL drops off. Exercise is the second thing that Father told us. If we didn't exercise, it was that we would get disease. We're to exercise and we're to eat no fat. But now, even though these were prohibited by the Father as food, that is fat, that doesn't mean it has anything to do with our salvation. It's a sin into the flesh, and we will suffer in the flesh with disease processes if we eat an excess of fat. Oh, we're to eat fruits, vegetables, grains, and they have a little fat in them. And we're to eat meat, but trim all the fat. Broil it over an open fire and let that be it being rendered on the altar, burning away the fat and the cholesterol, and then eat what is left. This is what Father wants us to do. Now, this is not a doctrine of Pharisees, God forbid. It has nothing to do with your salvation. Remember, it's a rule, a regulation of nature that Father gave you for you to live in good health. Let's talk a little bit about fats generally. They have 9 calories per gram in them. That's more than carbohydrate, which has 4, or protein, which has 4. 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9. So if you eat fat, first of all, you're going to get fat. It's very easily stored as fat. It's prohibited by your Father, and it will cause coronary artery disease if it is saturated fat. If it is unsaturated fat, it will cause cancer. Yes, the polyunsaturates cause cancer of the colon, the breast, the ovary, the uterus, the prostate, and the pancreas. That represents over 50% of cancers, and it causes 21% of our deaths in this country. Coronary artery disease causes 52% of the deaths, and if we get coronary artery disease, then in that 52% category, it may well cause your death. So we really have, what do we think of almost 80% of our deaths occur in those two diseases, cancer and coronary artery disease. So we really have given you a method then of preventing 80% of the illnesses of mankind that cause death just by avoiding fat, both saturated and unsaturated. Now, the unsaturated fats are those that occur in vegetables, and they're fine for you as long as you eat them in vegetables. But when we process them and take the oil out of them, whether it be corn oil or any other vegetable oil, we create problems. Man is so smart. We want to process foods. Well, add a little palm oil, add a little safflower oil, add a little peanut oil, add whatever kind of an oil to it to help. Well, it doesn't really help. It may flavor it a little bit for our taste buds because we've been educated to this. The food industry is dollar-driven. Expect to be deceived, and you won't be disappointed. So check on what they tell you on the TV tube. And now we found that with the oils and the fats that olive oil is an exception. We should use it in baking, on our pasta, over salads, over beans, corn, potatoes, or however you would like to use it. Remember, use cold-pressed olive oil, because once it is exposed to heat, it loses its good qualities. So olive oil then causes our good cholesterol to rise, the HDL. It causes our blood pressure to drop, diabetes to drop, blood sugar to go down, cholesterol total to go down, and your risk of coronary artery to go down, contrary to what the other fats do. Think fat, not cholesterol. It just isn't the fats that have cholesterol in them that are harmful to you, because the others stimulate the body to form that cholesterol. Once you get that through your head and you read Leviticus 3:16 and 17 and Leviticus 7:23 and realize that Father prohibited the use of even those fats that were on things that He created for food. So the body manufactures far more cholesterol than you ever eat. Well, let's talk about fiber for a moment. There's soluble and insoluble fiber. And advertising would have you believe on many occasions that they've developed a fiber. If you eat that, hey, you can eat anything else and not worry about it. That isn't true. And what about the research on, well, let's talk about oat bran, for instance. It's very interesting that there was a big flurry about oat bran. I have here a little magazine that came one day before I came to give this talk that I thought might be of interest to you. It's in Nutrition Action, usually a very good little magazine, brings up all of the points in nutrition, good or bad. And it discusses 3 men's research on oat bran. And they talk about one of these men that this is a bran that there's a national shortage of now because people suddenly realize it's helpful to avoid your absorbing cholesterol. And it used to be a grain that we only fed to horses. Well, it's true. We did feed oats to horses. And it is true that oat bran is good for you. Oatmeal is good for you. It helps avoid the absorption of both fat and cholesterol to some extent. It isn't the answer to health. It only helps. Well, this first researcher was a fellow by the name of Jim Anderson over at the University of Kentucky. And what he did, he took 20 people and under hospital conditions fed them oatmeal, a certain amount of it, some every day for a period of 3 weeks or so. He started out with people who had a blood cholesterol of 280. Some of them had 260. Now, That's a high blood cholesterol. The average blood cholesterol when you have a heart attack is about 140. So they're in the danger level. And he found that the blood cholesterol went down 13%. And if we equate that with the risk of coronary artery disease, the risk then of coronary artery disease drops twice as much, or 26%, in 3 weeks. Now that's pretty phenomenal. But there were some other researchers at Harvard University, and naturally you'd think, well, gee whiz, they're at Harvard, it must be true. It's a great university. This research was done primarily to muddy the water, to confuse you. Why do I know this? He started out with people who had a blood cholesterol of 186, and he fed them oatmeal and it did nothing. Now that's pretty stupid, really, because their blood cholesterol was already normal before he started, and it reduced very little. We weren't needing it to be reduced, and of course it wasn't. The other researchers started out with people with blood cholesterol of 200. It didn't need dropping either. So it didn't drop very much. But they have, as a result, muddied the water, made it confusing to the American public. It certainly doesn't confuse me. I've been along this track a long time. I've accumulated over 300 experiments that prove that fat is the cause of your disease. I didn't do the experiments, but researchers who were researchers that had done excellent work. Now, Jim Anderson understands that fat is one of our problems. He's the man who proved that if you drop your fat level to 10% of your caloric intake, that diabetes will go away. Yes, diabetes will go away. Feed yourself a carbohydrate diet and exercise, and diabetes will go away. Well, enough said. What I really want to point out is that actually the tried and true method of lowering your blood cholesterol is to eat no fat. No fat that has cholesterol in it, no fat that doesn't have cholesterol in it. And your cholesterol drops at least 25% in 3 to 4 weeks. So you've reduced your risk of a heart attack by at least 50% in a very short period of time. And it works. No medicine, nothing else. Oatmeal helps, but all of the other brands help also. Remember, fruits and vegetables are your major source of fiber. And fiber is the hero. Fat is the villain. Well, what does this fiber do? It does a lot of good things for you. Let's talk a little more about this matter of fiber then. The soluble fibers that occur in things like beans and oatmeal and peas and so on, they help reduce your level of blood cholesterol. They bind with cholesterol and prevent its being absorbed by your body. Not completely, but largely. I talked one time about magnesium. It also will help you avoid the absorption of some of the cholesterol, so it helps. The insoluble fiber largely gives the stool bulk, causes a rapid transit through the body, cutting the time that from the time you ingest it till you pass it, from about 90 hours to 30 hours. So the colon isn't exposed to the waste products of metabolizing fat, those bile salts, that desocholic acid, which causes your cancer of the colon. Yes, you can determine who will get cancer of the colon just by checking their stool for bile salts. If the level's high, they're going to get cancer. If it's low, they're not going to get cancer of the colon. It also causes you to take on more water and gives that stool bulk, and it doesn't harden. What about high blood pressure? Well, all fats cause high blood pressure. I thought that was salt that caused high blood pressure, you might say. Well, it does in about 15% of people. But in all people, fat will cause the blood pressure to go up. And it causes the disease that causes it to continue up. Diabetics, as I mentioned just a moment ago, all fat causes adult-acquired diabetes. Cut the fat out of your diet, eat largely carbohydrate, do a lot of exercise, and your diabetes miraculously goes away. Your glucose tolerance comes into normal. Diabetes is a metabolic disease where the insulin function is inactivated by the fat. And if you stop eating fat, it'll take 6 weeks or 2 months. It doesn't happen overnight. The insulin gradually becomes active again. Diabetics have plenty of insulin. Some of them have 4 times as much as they need. So the greatest discovery of my time really is you are what you eat. You absolutely are what you eat. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of God. He has commanded that you don't eat fat if you want to be healthy. Now, these are just rules and regulations that He laid down in nature. If we want to be healthy and feel good, don't eat fat. So once these thoughts are transferred from my mind to your mind, they become yours. They're your responsibility. Do you want to act on them? Do you want to apply them to your life? Do you want to start them now? You might say, well, I think I'll start them when I'm 10 years older than now. Well, that means you won't start them. But that's your responsibility. Your health is your responsibility, and you're the one that has to suffer the consequences one way or the other. So whether you abide by it and apply this knowledge or not is really up to you. The idea then for proper foods is a reality. Skip the fat, skip the disease. Your goal really is to die of old age. Too little of our information that's accumulating so rapidly really is much more than generalizations, vague generalizations when people don't know. Guesswork. The rehashings of the opinions of men kind of reminds me of poor old Job. Oh, these men had all the solutions, didn't they? Be careful. If it doesn't agree with the Word of God, forget it. I don't care whether it came from Harvard University or Washington University or what kind of hierarchy. Well, we've talked about fat. Let's talk about protein for a moment. Protein has only 4 grams of, or 4 calories, that is, per gram. Eat about 10% of your calories as protein. That's very little. Only about 4 ounces of meat a day is needed, enough to replace the worn-out muscle. But the bad thing is if you eat over 10% of your calories as protein, you begin to have trouble. Yes? You have an 8-fold loss of calcium, causing that osteoporosis. You develop atherosclerosis, and you decrease your lifespan. We've known for over 50 years that the more meat that you eat, the shorter your lifespan. The less you eat, the longer your lifespan. Is it any wonder? It is the #1 source of fat in the American diet. Cut down on the fat. Cook your meat, broil it, so you burn that fat away. Burn that cholesterol away. If you want to cook outside over an open grill with charcoal, that's great. If you want to broil it in the oven, that's fine. But get rid of the fat. Trim off all that you can initially. Well, you're repeating yourself an awful lot. Well, it takes us a long time to remember. We learn by repetition. Remember, the excess protein is stored as fat, not muscle. Well, what about athletic programs? They don't need any more than we do. Big muscles, strong muscles, come from exercise, not what you eat. Now, it's true you need a moderate quantity of protein. Well, what about supplements? No, you don't really need supplements. About 4 ounces of meat a day, or you can do it as beans if you want to, are adequate for you to get all the protein that you really need. The interesting thing is that beans have more protein per dollar than meat. Beans have more protein per dollar than any food. Isn't that interesting? And whole grain breads have more protein per calorie than meat does. So bread's a good source, whole grain breads, of protein. And it gives you a full feeling. We could eat as much as 50% of our calories as bread and would get along fine. Fish is it is your most important source of protein. It has very little fat. And if you broil it, or if you bake it, or if you cook it over the open fire, as our Christ did when he was here on earth, he ate a lot of fish. It reduces our risk of a coronary artery attack by 50%, just eating fish. So, skinned chicken that is broiled is also good for you. It has very little fat in it. And eggs are okay, just don't overdo it with eggs. Beef is the thing that we dwell on in this country, and beef is great, just don't eat too much of it. Well, what about beef? Feedlot beef, when you butcher that animal is 60% fat, but range-fed only has 9% fat on that carcass. 9%. I used to raise beef cattle, and we butchered a lot of beef that were range-fed. It's really good. Oh, it doesn't have quite as much marbling as the other, and it may be a little tougher, but substitute that for the other on most occasions. Now, do I expect you to go around eating only those things that make you miserable? Of course not. And should you feel guilty because you eat an ice cream cone? Of course not. As long as it's very occasionally, because most of it's fat. 85% of the calories are fat. But to stick back to protein then, lamb is fine. Just remember that prevention, the time has really come for the prevention of disease. Well, what about these high protein diets for weight loss? Well, you can lose weight with them, but you also lose your health, and that really isn't desirable. They cause atherosclerosis, artery damage, ketosis, diabetes, a rapid loss of water from your body. You have to drink at least 8 times as much water to dilute the toxins that result from the digestion of excess protein as you do with carbohydrate. 8 times as much water. Such things as ammonia and urea nitrogen accumulate then to create problems. You feel tired, you feel irritable, you feel lazy, you can't concentrate. It's really criminal negligence in view of our present knowledge of nutrition for anyone to be placed on a high protein diet in order to lose weight. It may kill you. Well, I'm under the supervision of this internist and he knows all about it. Yes, fine. If he really knew all about it, he wouldn't have you on it, because it does cause heart disease and it does cause many of the maladies leading to death. So that's not the way to lose weight. Don't ever go on a diet, ever. A diet indicates you're going to go off of it someday. Eat the proper food. Well, I can't follow it exactly, and neither can anyone else. None of us are perfect. We all fail. Try, do a little better the next time. We all fail at everything. If we do things, we fail occasionally. All of us do fail occasionally. The world's not going to end. Not going to end because you're not perfect. What about carbohydrates? They only have 4 calories per gram, And you can eat 80% of your calories as carbohydrate and do fine, or even more, really. They are pure energy. No poisons in the digestion of carbohydrates. They burn clean. Carbon dioxide and water, both of which don't stress the vital organs as you expel them. In professional athletes, we've learned that we increase our endurance by 3 times by adding to the exercise a carbohydrate diet. So the liver and the muscles, as we exercise with a carbohydrate diet, begin to store carbohydrates in the form of glycogen. It doesn't really matter, it's glucose, for immediate energy. So as we store this carbohydrate, then it's available, it gives you energy, you feel good. Well, what contains carbohydrates? Fruits, vegetables, and grains. All fruits, vegetables, and grains. So you really can't go wrong. They also contain both soluble and insoluble fiber. Now, some of them don't contain much insoluble, but all of them contain some soluble and insoluble. It isn't important to know which one you've eaten or which one you're supposed to eat. A variety of fruits, vegetables, and grains. Well, I don't like to just eat a chunk of wheat or grain or corn. Well, actually, you can bake the bread, make pasta out of it. There's many, many ways that you can eat grains. Oatmeal, cream of wheat, rice. Rice is nice. And brown rice has a lot of fiber and a lot of nutrients in it. Peas and beans, all of the legumes and potatoes, both sweet and Irish. Put a little honey on a sweet potato, and hey, it's delicious. And, well, I thought you said don't eat a lot of sugar. Well, honey is okay if you don't overdo it. A teaspoon of honey has maybe 15 calories in it, and don't feel guilty about that. If you have a sweet tooth, satisfy it wisely. Put a few bananas in your oatmeal, a teaspoon of honey in your oatmeal, a few raisins in there. That's not the problem. The problem is fat. Well, what about cooking? I think we've talked about cooking it over the open fire and not allowing it to be soaked in a bath of grease. With exercise, I've told you that 2% of deaths occur during exercise, but 50% really occur during sleep. And you're certainly not going to stop sleeping. There's a reason. It's a fatty meal that you ate before. It's time that you took responsibility for your health. Don't expect your doctor to take responsibility for it. He is there to treat you when you develop the illness. You are responsible for its prevention. Go to work at it today. Your lifestyle, not medication, is going to prolong your life for a productive, healthy life. Common sense in simplicity is power. Power to be healthy. The greatest truths are really all very simple. Well, you make this so simple that I don't even believe it. Hey, that's your prerogative. If you don't want to believe it, that's tough. The simpler truths never change. As you observe primitive tribes, they eat about 50% of their calories as whole grain breads. And you know, they work hard to feed themselves. The rest of their diet consists of fruits, vegetables. And they play hard, but they die of old age. And you know, they don't have any cancer, and they don't have any heart disease. Unfortunately, they die frequently of infectious diseases because they don't know how to control them. But they don't have the degenerative diseases that we have. The very speed of medical and surgical advances don't take the shame away from the medical profession. It's great. The changes have been exponential. Oh, we have new technology that's absolutely phenomenal. But the shame to the medical profession is that it doesn't admit that the most important thing is nutrition. Nutrition decides whether or not you get that disease in the first place. So we don't need more health care, we need more health advice that's taken to heart, right into your mind and then into action. So I think we should say a brief word so no one gets a misunderstanding about children. Children under 2 years of age, you should put no fat restrictions on them. Remember, milk, whole milk, has a lot of fat in it, and it's used as building blocks for the body, particularly that cholesterol in the milk. So that for 2 years, don't worry about how much fat that they eat. Feed them whole milk. After that, you can start restrictions. It's unfortunate, but 75% of American children are too fat because they eat too much junk food. Well, do you want to make the children unhappy because you won't allow them to participate? Use common sense. Cut back reasonably. Let them be part of the family. As they grow up seeing what you eat, they will eat the same thing. About 68% of them eat too much salt. We don't need any salt. We need sodium. Sodium in the fruits and the vegetables that we eat. Well, I thought you should replace that salt that you eat exercising as you sweat. No, you really don't need to replace it that way. Just replace it with fruits and vegetables as you eat. Well, I can't tolerate sodium. I'm on a low-sodium diet. Well, the only product that I know of is a preparation called no salt. It has the calcium in it, but potassium instead of sodium. And it will not give you any sodium then. Many of our children have high blood cholesterol, about 46%. And a large number of them still have high blood pressure already, even though they're below 15 years of age. Health is really our greatest wealth. Don't eat yourself to death. Eat yourself to health. Disease in the U.S. today is really a major factor. The major factor is chronic poisoning. Well, you didn't mention that before. Maybe I haven't. Chronic poisoning from eating too much fat and too much protein and poisoning ourselves. And the second most important thing is malnutrition. Well, who ever heard of malnutrition in the United States of America? It's from eating too much fat and sugar. Neither of them have any nutrients in them. Absolutely none. However, they do have a lot of calories. They're empty calories. They're void. Oh, they'll put weight on you and fat on you, and they will give you energy. But they do not help to build nor to heal the body. They don't help your immune system. They don't prevent you getting diseases. You know, a very wise man once said, "Let your food be your medicine, and let your medicine be your food." That was Hippocrates, the father of medicine. Well, how did he know that far back? Our father told us that further back than that, didn't he? So we haven't really progressed as much as we would like to think that we had. In spite of all of our new knowledge, we have failed completely in the prevention of disease. We've learned better how to handle the problem once it occurs. They spend very little time teaching doctors how to prevent disease. It's a tragedy. You must take the responsibility for it yourself. And you don't have to be sick to get better. You can start today. Make a list of fatty foods, predetermining that you're not going to eat them. Cut half of the fat out of all your recipes. People need health advice then, not health care. Well, I don't really have the character of a windsock. Or if you don't have a belief that is as firm as jello, or a conviction that's as strong or as rigid as a wet noodle, don't even listen to me. Turn it off. You're not going to follow it anyway, and it really won't do you any good unless you follow it. It has no advantage to having knowledge unless you put it to use. Well, how do we make this immune system work more effectively? Cut out the fat, cut out the smoking, cut out the alcohol, and your immune system is 10 times as effective as one who eats fat, smokes, and uses alcohol. You know, are you alone in this? No. Many people have determined this. I just got a letter just before I left from the American Institute of Cancer Research. And they have a little thing over here that says guidelines, dietary guidelines to lower cancer risk. They got it right this time. I'm proud of them that they did this. The first two things they listed, listen. 1, reduce the intake of dietary fat. 2, increase the consumption of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Well, they didn't do so good yet on the third and the fourth things, but they have really improved on that first two items. Well, you certainly have been hard on the American Medical Association and the American Heart Association, the American Diabetic Association. Yes, they say that 30% of your fat, as your calories as fat, is okay. That's the reason we still have disease. 10% of fat is okay. 10% of your calories, not the weight, calories. And I told you in other lectures how to determine what the percentage of fat was. So your body has the God-given power to heal itself if you use the proper food. Father is our advisor. Listen to his counsel. He's your father. Do you want to get struck down by modern illnesses? Coronary artery disease killing 52% of you, cancer killing 21% of you, and all other diseases are about 27%. So the answer then to most of our diseases is to avoid these problems with fat. I think at this time I'm going to help start you a list of some of these things that are good and are bad. Now, I just put together a little list. It's not perfect. You can do a better job for yourself because you know what you like and you don't like. Let's go over some of the worst foods first. Well, I'd say soda pop would head the list. Fruit juice is much better for you. It's really just sugar. 10 teaspoons of sugar in each can of Pepsi or Coke or whatever you drink. All of them have about the same. 2, French fries. Now, these are the bad things. French fries. A travesty on the name of potato. As they fry them, they soak up about 200 calories of fat. Nothing but fat. So, a potato is good for you, but not if you fry it. Substitute a baked potato, and hey, you're in business. Potato chips. Now, they're virtually all fat. They're even worse than French fries. Okay? Bacon. Well, first of all, our Father prohibited its use, didn't he? Secondly, it's really not meat. It's almost pure fat, about 95%. Oh, well, I cook mine in the microwave, and I have a napkin there, and it soaks up all the grease. You still have 95% fat, and what's left? It's crisp, and so on. Stay away from bacon. It's really not good for you at all. What about fettuccine Alfredo? and other pasta sauces. Now, it's pasta, that part's good, but it's swimming in a pool of grease, and that's bad. And that destroys any value that you would really get for the... Don't use the excuse, well, that's pasta. It's so fat that use a no-oil Italian dressing if you are going to make pasta of any sort, or olive oil, and you won't have any trouble. What about fast food super burgers, those that give you 600 calories a whack or even up to 800 calories? Well, they're bad news. Over half of those calories is fat. Okay? Now, I'm not telling you not to eat beef. Anything our Father created for us as food is good for us, but in moderation. And don't dress it up. They would do the super burgers with fat, mayonnaise and, well, cheese. And there's nothing wrong with cheese. It's just that it has about the same fat in it that meat has. Granola bars. Hey, they're horrible. Now, they promoted them as a health food, but they're over 0.5% fat, and the other half is sugar. No better than a candy bar. So don't worry about it. They've got a little cereal in them, but not enough to hardly notice. S'mores cereal and granola cereals. Same word. Terrible. They're fat and sugar. About half fat and about half sugar. Two no-nos, basically. Okay? Donuts. Very bad. Donuts. It's better that you don't even eat breakfast at all if you're going to have a donut for your breakfast. Cheese, well, cheese is okay if you eat it as you eat meat and don't eat meat. Well, I quit eating meat, but I sure eat a lot of cheese now. Well, you're no better off. Eat red meat occasionally if you want to, but don't think cheese is a wonder food. It isn't. Let it sit out in the sun sometime for a couple of hours and see how much fat comes out of it. Be moderate. What about candy bars? Well, they're all sugar and fat. About half and half candy bars. Hot dogs. Hot dogs have 85% of their calories as fat. So certainly you don't want to do that. Well, I'm tired of hearing these bad stuff. How about give me some good news, you might say. It's true that in our affluent society, we have taught people by our advertising to eat too much meat and too much fat. And let's begin to get away from that tendency and avoid diseases. Some of the best foods then, I'm going to put broccoli and carrots down. They're really nutritional bargains. They're loaded with vitamins, vitamin A, that precursor or that end product of beta-carotene, which prevents cancer. Now, all vegetables and fruits have things in them to prevent cancer. I don't want to single out one. Of good things, let's mention 2 oats. They are really the value of a Cadillac, and they're great. Cabbage is great. Baked potatoes are great. Yogurt and skim milk are great. Pasta is great. Fish, not only is it very little fat, it helps to prevent blood clots that cause coronary artery disease. Salmon is excellent. All fish are excellent that Father permitted. 8, bread and whole grains. They're great. Lentils and dried beans. Great. Fresh fruits, any fresh fruit, are absolutely fine. They are loaded with fiber. Prunes, for instance, have a large quantity of fiber in them. Well, popcorn is a plus, and bananas are a great food, high energy. What I'm saying to you, there are no real miracle foods then. The foods that you really should eat are a great variety, and stay away from the fat. You might make a list of eat more and eat less of. I've got a vegetable soup here to lose weight I want to give you. It has cabbage and carrots and cucumbers and garlic and onions and tomatoes and cabbage juice in it. Yes, you'll lose weight with that if you eat it frequently to fill your tummy. Eat a bowl of soup before every meal of this time if you want to lose weight. And stick on the carbohydrate diet and you'll lose about 5 pounds a week with great ease. Now that brings us to the point to where I'd like to discuss, if I may, our quiz. About how much time do we have left, Mike? Okay, then we'll go into these. We're going to have to go over these questions fairly rapidly. I used up a little more time than I thought I had, so I may have to ask you to answer these questions fairly rapidly. The first question then is, smoking is responsible for 30% of cancer deaths. True or false? Think about it a second. It's true, isn't it? Okay. 2, alcohol use or abuse is responsible for 1/2 of all fatal automobile accidents. That also is true. Okay? Cut back on the alcohol or leave it off entirely. 3, 2 drinks of alcohol, that is 2 ounces of whiskey a day, decrease the heart's workload capacity by 20%. That also is true. Now, you might say, it doesn't bother me. Remember, Father gave us great excess capacity so that we didn't need all of this that we had. So we'd be ready for an emergency. We could take care of it. 4, the body's need for protein is grossly exaggerated. Well, yes, it is, isn't it? So that would also be true. Cancer of the breast is the leading cause of death in women's age 35 to 55. Cancer of the breast. Think a minute. Yes, it's true, isn't it? That's a disease that we men don't have to worry about, but then we have cancer of the prostate. They're both caused by the same thing, aren't they? 6, the simple road to health is a very low-fat diet, exercise, and no smoking. Now, if any one of you missed that, I'm going to give you a boot the next time I see you, right up between your shoulder blades. Okay? We all know that's true. Okay. 7, excess fat in your diet is more of a risk factor for high blood pressure than salt. And that, again, is true. Dietary fat is the principal causative factor in 50% of cancer leading to death. Well, now, wait a minute. Did we talk about that? Yes, we did. Back, I can't remember when, but we did. It's true. 9, cancer of the colon, the breast, the ovaries, the uterus, and the prostate are caused by excess dietary fat of cancer deaths. That's true. 10, adult acquired diabetes is caused by excessive dietary fat. True again. Coronary artery disease is caused by excessive dietary fat. Well, yes, it is. Primarily the saturated fats. Primarily the animal fats. 12, atherosclerosis, that is to say hardening of the arteries, is caused by excess dietary fat. True again. Fat is your number 1 health enemy. That's true, isn't it? I hope you've gotten that. I've said it so many times. Fat is your number 1 health enemy. Yes, that's true. Osteoporosis, or softening of the bones, or that is porous bones, in postmenopausal women is caused chiefly by excesses of meat, protein, drinking coffee, and smoking. That's also true. 15. We can now prevent 80% of coronary artery disease and 80% of cancer by altering our lifestyle choices to a low-fat diet, exercise, and no smoking. Yes, we can prevent 80% of them ourselves without any help. True. If we abide by Leviticus 3:16-17 and Leviticus 17 and Leviticus 23, we don't really have to worry about coronary artery disease or cancer. No, we don't. Leviticus chapter 11 and and Deuteronomy chapter 14 summarize the health food laws. That's true. Our food for thought is the Word of God. The Bible is our number one book of prevention of disease. The only thing you need really to remember is keep your eyes on Christ. He is the great physician. He will heal you. Thank you. God bless you. And welcome to this program. I hope we have been helpful to you. We will see you again in the near future.